Okay, imagine this with me for a second. You're driving. Maybe you're heading to check on a big new public works project, a multi-million peso project, something really vital. Yeah. Like a flood control structure supposed to protect, whole communities. You get to the spot where it's supposed to be, you look around, and well, there's nothing, like literally nothing, empty land, where this crucial finished structure should be standing. And get this, the person making this discovery, not just anyone, it's the president of the country, making this shocking discovery himself. Okay, right. Let's try and unpack this because it's quite a story. Today, we're doing a deep dive into this really astonishing situation that's been unfolding in the Philippines. We're talking about a guy named Henry Alcantara, who's a district engineer, now dismissed. And he's right at the center of some serious allegations. They're about these so-called ghost flood control projects in Bulacan province.
Yeah, and ghost projects, it's exactly what it sounds like, isn't it? Structures that got budgeted, funded, signed off as completed, but either they literally don't exist on the ground, or what is there is, a completely substandard, just not what was paid for.
Exactly. So our mission here for you listening is to sort of sift through all the layers, the accusations, the pretty surprising defenses we've heard, the official actions. We're using the sources we have to figure out, okay, what actually happened here? What did everyone involved actually say? And maybe more importantly, what does this all mean for things like public trust, for accountability, especially with critical infrastructure? We'll also get into this this kind of paradox, someone admitting negligence for signing off on a project that wasn't there, while also saying they didn't fully know what was going on. It's confusing.
It certainly is.
So we'll walk you through it. The dramatic discovery first, then Alcantara's defense, what his lawyer said. We'll look at the specific projects involved, the consequences he faced, the charges, and finally, these ongoing calls for, well, a much deeper search for the truth. All right, so the story really kicks off with this moment that honestly sent shockwaves. This is where it gets really interesting. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. himself. He makes this stunning discovery on site, and that's what lights the fuse for this whole investigation.
Yeah, picture it. The president shows up to inspect a, what was it, P55 million flood control project in Bulacan. Supposed to be done, finished, according to the paperwork anyway.
He gets there, ready to see this vital piece of infrastructure, and as the reports say, it later turned out to be non-existent at the site.
Just gone, or rather never there. 55 million pesos worth.
Yeah, just poof.
It's hard to really convey the audacity of it. A P55 million project just not existing.
Yeah.
And the fact that it needed the president to visit to bring it to light, that's maybe the most telling part.
Right.
It immediately makes you ask, okay, how does that happen? How does a project that big get all the way through the bureaucracy, planning, funding, right up to the completion certificate, that crucial sign-off that releases the final payment, without anything actually being built? It screams systemic failure, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It points to, a breakdown in checks and balances way beyond just one person potentially making a mistake. It's deep.
Totally. So the president finds this, and you can imagine, suddenly all eyes turn to the people involved. Especially the engineer whose signature is on the approval for this phantom project. And that's where Henry Alcantara comes right into the spotlight. His legal team, Alan Duenas from the Flaminiano Arroyo and Duenas firm, they moved fast, made some strong public statements.
Right, damage control mode, essentially.
Yeah. Duenas said Alcantara has no intention to flee, wants to cooperate in all upcoming inquiries. Standard stuff, maybe?
Well, standard but important. You have to say that, right?
I suppose. The lawyer said Alcantara wanted to clear his name and would fully cooperate.
It's interesting watching these initial statements play out, committing publicly to cooperate, wanting to clear your name. It's absolutely the standard playbook in a big scandal like this. It sort of signals, okay, I understand this is serious, and it's a strategic move, definitely, to manage how the public sees you, show transparency. But true cooperation, well, that can be a double-edged sword, can't it?
How so?
Well, it could reveal things that implicate other people, sure, but it could also potentially dig a deeper hole for the person cooperating.
Oh.
So it's always this balancing act. Control the story, appear open, but manage the risk.
And his lawyers were definitely trying to control the narrative. They put out another statement specifically saying Alcantara wasn't the kingpin here.
Ah, the kingpin label.
They were quite firm. Alcantara maintains his innocence. He did not author these alleged ghost projects. That was the line. They even claimed any wrongdoing was done behind his back without his knowledge, acquiescence, or approval.
Okay, so that's the core of their defense strategy right there.
Seems like it. Painting him as, I don't know, unaware, maybe even a victim.
Exactly. It's a classic legal approach. They're trying to draw a very clear line between Alcantara and the actual creation, the authorship, as they put it, of these ghost projects by saying it was behind his back without his knowledge. They're suggesting, look, maybe he was fooled. Or maybe illegal stuff happened completely separate from him. It's a very deliberate attempt to shift the blame, obviously, and fight back against that really damaging kingpin idea.
Right, to say he wasn't the mastermind?
Precisely. He was, in their telling, maybe negligent at worst, but not the perpetrator, and that's a huge difference in court and in public opinion.
Okay, it's a strong defense strategy. But, and this is where it gets, well, complicated, maybe even contradictory, because despite his lawyer saying he didn't author it, Alcantara himself made a pretty specific and pretty significant admission.
Okay.
He went before the House Infrastructure Committee, first hearing, and he admitted he was negligent.
Negligent? In what way?
Negligent in signing the completion certificates for that exact same P55 million Baliwag project. The one President Marcos found wasn't there.
Wow. Okay. So he admits negligence on the very project his team says he didn't know was a ghost.
Yeah.
That really forces you to stop and think, doesn't it? What's the actual difference he's trying to make here? Admitting negligence when you sign off on a P55 million project that doesn't exist. I mean, isn't that kind of the definition of not knowing what's going on?
Right.
Negligence in a job like that, with that kind of responsibility, it implies a massive failure of, well, basic checking, due diligence, oversight.
Yeah, you'd think you'd check if it was actually built before signing off.
Exactly. It suggests this huge gap between what should have been checked on the ground and what was maybe just, rubber stamped back in the office. So claiming negligence but denying knowledge, it's a very, very tricky position. It suggests, at best, a complete failure to do his job properly.
And, oh, there's more. The plot, as they say, thickens. Our sources also say Alcantara denied knowing that these projects were ghost projects, right?
Okay, yeah, we covered that.
But he also admitted something else. He admitted that he requested for these projects to be included in the National Expenditure Program for funding.
Wait, he asked for them to be funded in the first place, the same project.
That's what the source material indicates. So he champions them, gets them in the budget, then claims he didn't know they ended up as ghosts.
Right.
And then only admits he was negligent in signing the completion form at the very end.
Huh. That is a critical piece. Requesting funding isn't passive, that's proactive. You're actively pushing for these projects.
Exactly.
So to push for them, get them funded, and then claim ignorance about their ghost status later while admitting you were negligent signing them off.
Wow. That implies a truly staggering breakdown somewhere along the line from start to finish.
Especially for projects he initiated, in a sense.
Yeah.
It really shows you the incredibly fine, maybe impossible line his defense is trying to walk. Minimize the fraud part, admit the oops, I didn't check properly part. That's going to be tough to sell.
And it seems pretty clear now that this P55 million non-existent project in Baliwag, it wasn't like a one-off mistake or something. No, our sources point to other projects Alcantara approved that also came under fire. For instance, Manila Representative Joel Chua, he highlighted another project President Marcos inspected, this one substandard, a P94.6 million river protection structure in Bulacan, Columpet.
Okay, nearly 100 million pesos there.
Yeah. Awarded to a company called St. Timothy Construction. And guess who approved it?
Let me guess, Alcantara.
Bingo. Alcantara again. Serious money, serious questions. And wait, there's more? Another one in Columpet. A flood mitigation structure this time, worth P74.6 million.
Okay.
Also approved by Alcantara and the contractor. A company called Wawa Builders. Now, Wawa Builders apparently notable, identified as one of the top 15 flood contractors under the current Marcos administration.
Ah, interesting. So a major player.
Seems like it. So we're quickly going from one missing project to, well, a pattern, aren't we?
Yeah.
Hundreds of millions of pesos in public money, multiple projects, multiple contractors, all linked back to Alcantara's approval.
That pattern is really striking. As you said, it shifts the perspective, doesn't it? We're not just talking about one dodgy project anymore. We're seeing multiple major infrastructure works worth hundreds of millions combined, all funneling through Alcantara's office, needing his okay. And that mention of a top 15 contractor, that's potentially quite revealing.
Also,
well, it suggests this might not just be about one rogue engineer, It hints at potential systemic issues, maybe involving several players, multiple contractors, maybe even a wider network.
Right, like it's bigger than just him.
Potentially,
Yeah.
yes. It really broadens the whole picture, makes you wonder about the true scale of these anomalies. Are they isolated, or are they symptoms of something much larger, maybe more ingrained in the system? That's the worrying question.
So with all these allegations flying around, plus his own admission of negligence, well, official action against Henry Alcantara came pretty quickly. And it was decisive.
Yeah, you'd expect that, given the president's involvement.
Right. Public Works Secretary Vince Dayan formally ordered him dismissed from service.
Yeah.
Gone. And the charges they found him guilty of, they weren't minor things. We're talking really serious stuff.
Like what?
Okay, get this. Disloyalty to the Republic, grave misconduct, gross neglect in the performance of duty, and conduct prejudicial to the best interest of service.
Among others.
Wow. Disloyalty to the Republic, that's heavy. It is, right? Not just a procedural error.
Yeah. Let's just pause on that for a second.
Yeah.
Those charges, they're not just bureaucratic jargon. They carry enormous weight. Disloyalty to the Republic, especially for a public servant, that's about as serious as it gets. It suggests a fundamental betrayal of the trust placed in you by the public, by the state itself. It takes it way beyond just, messing up paperwork or not checking properly.
Yeah. Right. It implies intent, almost.
No.
Or at least consequences that undermine the state.
Exactly. It frames it as an ethical failure, a moral failure, maybe even bordering on something damaging to the nation's interests.
Yeah.
It really hammers home how crucial integrity and accountability are supposed to be for officials handling public money and vital infrastructure. It's the government saying, effectively, you didn't just fail your job, you acted against the public good.
So he's dismissed, facing these heavy charges. His lawyers are still working, presumably, to clear his name somehow. But the calls for full transparency, for a much deeper investigation, those haven't gone away. They're actually getting louder.
Understandably.
Yeah. There's a Baikal-Saro representative, Terry Ryden. He publicly challenged Alcantara, basically saying, okay, if you really want to clear your name, keep showing up.
Showing up where?
Before the House Committee, other investigations. Ryden was very direct. He said Alcantara must assist in finding the truth. The truth behind all these ghost and substandard projects in the Bulacan office, the office Alcantara led when all this was happening.
So basically, put your money where your mouth is regarding that cooperation promise.
Pretty much, yeah. A direct challenge to actually help uncover what really went down.
And that really brings us to the core question for you listening to this. What is the full truth here? Behind these ghost projects, these substandard structures, Alcantara's genuine, honest cooperation. That's probably vital, isn't it? For investigators to really map out the whole chain of command.
Yeah, to see who knew what, when.
Exactly. And who ultimately benefited from these schemes. That's always the big question. And maybe most importantly, how could this happen on such a scale?
Right. How does the system allow it?
Precisely. It's about getting past just blaming one person potentially and looking at the system itself, fixing the vulnerabilities so it doesn't happen again.
So the call for cooperation isn't just about him. It's about fixing the system.
I think so, yeah. It's a demand for real transparency, a chance to maybe rebuild some of that broken trust and hopefully prevent future betrayals like this.
So where does that leave us? And what does it all mean for you, for public trust in general? We've just done this deep dive into, a really complex story, often contradictory too. You've got Henry Alcantara, this engineer, who admits negligence for signing off on a P55 million project that literally wasn't there, but he denies knowing it was a ghost. And all this while facing charges as serious as disloyalty to the Republic because of his role in multiple alleged ghost and substandard projects. It's a lot. What this deep dive really highlights, I think, is the huge ongoing challenge we face in ensuring real accountability for public infrastructure. It just starkly shows how many layers of responsibility there are from the ground level right up to the top offices and how easily things can go wrong when oversight fails. It's a pretty vivid reminder, isn't it, that public trust is incredibly fragile. And it gets badly damaged when the very things meant to protect people just disappear or were never built in the first place.
Absolutely. And maybe this case leaves us with a final thought for you to mull over. If a multi-million queso public works project, something absolutely vital for flood control, meant to protect lives, if that can completely vanish, just disappear without a trace, so much so that it takes the president visiting the site to uncover it, What does that truly tell you?
Yeah.
What does he say about all those unseen layers, the oversight, the trust, the potential weaknesses built into the very systems that are supposed to protect and serve all of us? And maybe the bigger question, how can we, as informed citizens, really make sure that the essential things we rely on, roads, bridges, flood barriers, aren't just lines in a budget or approved plans on paper?
Right.
How do we ensure they are actually genuinely built, properly checked, and really exist out there in the world doing the job they were paid for? That's the challenge, isn't it?